I hope that the last few days have been productive and fruitful for everyone. We're looking forward to even more insights, discussions, and connections on our final day. This morning, we're kicking off with a very important topic, especially to the geospatial professionals in the audience, which is the past, present, and future of the 3D elevation program. It is my pleasure to introduce Kevin Gallagher, Associate Director and Core Science Systems at USGS. Though Kevin was not able to join us in person, he has provided us with a video address. For those who don't know him, Kevin Gallagher is the Associate Director for the Core Science Systems Mission Area and oversees the USGS National Land Imaging Program, the National Geospatial Program, the National Cooperative Geologic Mapping Program, and the Science Synthesis and Analysis and Research Program. His executive responsibilities cover notable projects such as the Landsat satellite, Land Chain Science, the National Map, Geologic Mapping for the Nation, Geological and Geophysical Data Preservation, high-performance computing, the USGS Library, and a variety of tool and databases to support biodiversity and conservation science. It is my joy to turn over now the presentation to Kevin, and we will screen his video, then we'll follow on with the rest of this morning's keynote. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, this is Kevin Gallagher, Associate Director of Core Science Systems at the USGS. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have the opportunity to address GeoWeek and ILMF in this keynote address. I really wish I could be there to connect with you all in person. In fact, I was asked 2 years ago and was lined up to speak for the ILMF in, I guess it would have been February of 2020, the first time that we had to cancel a conference due to COVID. So now I'm kind of wondering if I'm a jinx. Anyway, I'm really hopeful that this talk today is going to be useful to you, and I'll just look forward to the next time we meet in person. My talk today is about past, present, and future of the 3D elevation program, or 3DEP for short. I love to take a step back for this type of retrospective look at a program that's lasted this long, and how we've all worked together as a community to make it a success. A theme I want you to keep in mind is that we couldn't do this program without all of you, the partners, mapping firms, technology and industry folks that make 3DEP possible. I hope as I walk through this presentation, you see yourself and your work reflected in the accomplishments that we've all contributed to. To address the past, present, and future of 3DEP, I'm going to walk through a timeline that spans 130 years. But please don't panic. This is an abridged history of elevation data at the USGS. And we're going to take a look at some of the big milestones that have led us to where we are today. The timeline begins with our topographic mapping mission. I love the quote in the upper right corner from John Wesley Powell, one of the founders of the USGS and our second director, who said, "A government cannot do any scientific work of more value to the people at large than causing the construction of proper topographic maps of the country." Topographic mapping has been a mission of the USGS from when it was first established in 1884. And it has seen our country through major periods in our history, through the expansion of the West, through wartime industries, all the way up to the challenges to today that we faced with infrastructure, flood inundation, vegetation, precision agriculture and forestry, aviation safety, and beyond. Elevation and hydrography are inextricably linked. They shape each other and define the topography and the topographic surface of our country. To this day, this focus on topography is what makes USGS maps and data unique from other map providers. From the very first topo map that we delivered, we were field surveying elevation to create contours with a vertical accuracy of plus or minus a half a contour interval. This has been our history and our focus. Another key date is 1925, when the Temple Act authorized the USGS to enter into partnerships with states. I've already mentioned this a little bit, but working in partnerships with other organizations is absolutely foundational to how the USGS accomplishes our national mapping goals. We couldn't do it without you. Traditional field surveying continued for decades, and it was a huge feat to complete mapping of the entire US. In fact, it took until 1991 to complete once-over mapping of the nation at 1 to 24,000 scale. In the mid-1970s, the first techniques came out to convert the data on the paper topo maps into digital files that could be by a computer. And in 1976, we saw our first digitized from contours and delivered in 24K data tiles. It's interesting to think about the computers available at that time and the file size for a single DEM challenging the 360 kilobyte storage capacity of a single 5.5-inch floppy disk. The conversion of maps to digital DEMs continued, as did improvements in the technology, and nationwide coverage of 30-meter seamless was completed in 1999 with a vertical accuracy of 374 centimeters. This accuracy was still dependent on the accuracy of the contours that the DEMs were derived from. Coming into the 2000s, technology continued to progress, and in 2003, we integrated our first LiDAR-derived DEM in the Puget Sound region into the National Elevation Dataset. This started a trend that would soon catch fire with our users who were hungry for greater accuracy and detail that the LiDAR provided, along with having brand new data to replace older data sets created from photogrammetric processes. And with LiDAR, you could see through the trees. Interest steadily grew, and in 2006, our own Jason Stoker established the USGS Center for LiDAR Information Coordination and Knowledge, or CLIC. Perhaps you might remember. CLIC was a clearinghouse for LiDAR data and information, with a new focus on LiDAR point cloud as the valuable data set for modeling 3D features of the surface. Together, the Bare Earth DEM and the 3D LiDAR point cloud began to enable a broad range of emerging applications like geologic and flood mapping, mapping building footprints, and vegetation 3D structure. These developments helped usher in the next critical phase of 3DEP, 2012 through 2016. At the USGS, we knew that we needed to more fully incorporate LiDAR technology into our elevation program. But first, we wanted to fully understand the current and future needs of our users and ensure we were meeting their needs. So we embarked on the National Enhanced Elevation Assessment, which was completed in 2012 with comprehensive documentation of the requirements and benefits of 34 federal agencies, all 50 states, and a sampling of local, tribal, private, and other users. NEA was a seminal study that provided the comprehensive information for the USGS to design 3DEP to meet the majority of user needs and maximize the return on investment at 5-to-1. It also enabled us to communicate with partners and stakeholders about the annual benefits to them individually and for the program as a whole. We conservatively estimated that 3DEP would provide $690 million in benefits annually, with the potential to provide more than $13 billion annually with new and emerging applications. This was a transitional time, and in 2013, we completed nationwide coverage of seamless 10-meter DEMs with a vertical accuracy of 244 to 155 centimeters, which was still dependent on the accuracy of the original data collection. These data were a mix of mostly older data with some new DEMs produced from LiDAR integrated in some areas. By 2014, we vetted and published the 3DEP call for action to document the strategy and plans based on NEA for 3DEP and to provide nationwide coverage for LiDAR and IfSAR in Alaska. We estimated the cost of 3DEP at over $1 billion, with our goal to complete nationwide coverage of QL2 or better data in 8 years. In 2016, we marked our full year of 3DEP production of LiDAR point clouds and new DEMs with a vertical accuracy of 10 centimeters or better, and that began our 8-year goal for completion by 2023. We aimed high, and at the time, this audacious goal that many of our stakeholders and even some of our internal employees weren't really sure we might reach. I mean, at the time, who would want QL2 data at more expense and very large file sizes when mostly around that time data was at QL3? And who would want LiDAR data in areas of the country that are not very populated? Nationwide LiDAR coverage, especially for the size of the US, well, it seemed like a pipe dream. But fast forward to today, and our users want to move to QL1 or better, and we have full coverage in many parts of the country. By the end of 2018, we passed the halfway mark of 53% of the nation and 3-up data available or in progress. Again, I need to emphasize the importance of partnerships in growing the acquisition investment that you see on this bar chart. The USGS budget, as you can see, is relatively small and has received modest increases, appreciated increases, but modest increases. The growth of the program is mostly due to the large investments by our partners, namely FEMA and NRCS, along with the combined investments of more than 300 state, local, tribal, and other partners. By the end of fiscal year 2021, we have achieved 84% of the nation with either 3-up data available or in progress. Suddenly, our big audacious goal seems like it's really within reach. I love these animations that show how coverage grew by year. The map on the left shows the geographic coverage by each year. The map on the right shows the percentage of each state that has 3-up coverage by year. We can see some of the early data, like the Alaska IfSAR that started early on and contributed to 3-up, and the increasing volume of acquisition each year all the way up to 2021. 2021 brings us to the beginnings of our future direction with the introduction of the 3D National Topography Model vision and the 3D Hydrography program as one of its key components. To highlight again, topography is defined by elevation and hydrography. Elevation shapes hydrography, and hydrography shapes elevation. To support a broad range of applications, the goal of the 3D National Topography Model integrates USGS elevation and hydrography datasets to model the nation's topography in 3D. I'm so excited about this vision because it will advance a huge range of applications that depend on having accurate understanding of the topography and delivering the terrestrial component of 3D Nation vision that we share with NOAA for delivering a continuous 3D surface from the depths of our oceans to the peaks of our mountains. The next generation of data will underpin the next generation of applications, including FEMA's Flood Risk Data 2.0, the National Water Model, the Clean Water Act, the National Landsides Act, and the Earth Mapping Resources Initiative, just to name a few. The 3D National Topography Model vision also includes implementation of the 3D HP infrastructure as the geospatial underpinning for the Internet of Water, a vision that we're really excited about. The 3D NTM will enable new and emerging applications as we begin to have multiple vintages of elevation data that support change detection and monitoring, and as we use the elevation data to derive hydrography and move from the neighborhood to the street level in terms of accuracy. One of the key components of 3D NTM is the 3D Hydrography Program initiative, which we will use 3-up data to derive all new hydrography data for the nation. 3D HP leverages many of the best practices and lessons learned from 3-up. For example, for governance, for data acquisition, the use of the private sector, and the use of the USGS geospatial products and services contracts. Last fall, we shared the draft 3D NTM Call for Action Part 1 3D Hydrography Program with stakeholders for their input, and we received many thoughtful comments. We're working on the final draft of that plan with the goal of releasing it to the public in early 2022. Another key component of the 3D NTM is the next generation of 3DEP. Now that we are more than 84% complete with the 3DEP data, we need to plan for how to build on the national baseline with repeat coverage. Right now, we are wrapping up the 3D Nation Elevation Requirements and Benefits Study in partnership with NOAA. Like NEA, the study will provide comprehensive documentation of federal, state, and other partner needs for 3DEP data. What's new in this study is that it covers not only terrestrial needs, but it includes 3D requirements for inland, coastal, and offshore 3D data, including inland bathymetry. Also new in this study is a technology agnostic approach and looking at a broad range of technologies to meet user needs. We anticipate an all-new program design with new and varying data quality levels and refresh rates. We're excited to also include inland bathymetry in the next generation of 3DEP. Jason will talk more about the study in his presentation following this one. I'll just mention here that the goal is to complete the study and publish a report in the spring of this year. We will use the study to help design the next generation of 3DEP, which will be documented in the draft 3D NTM Call for Action Part 2, Next Generation 3DEP, and vetted with the community. To bring it back to our current 3DEP baseline goal, we're still working to finish nationwide coverage. This is an interesting map that shows the vintage of our existing elevation data. And as you can see, there are areas where we don't have current 3DEP data, and some of that data is pretty old, as much as from the 1940s. It's critical that these data be replaced to support applications such as wildfire mitigation, critical minerals identification, and natural resources management, and much more. We don't have our final FY22 budget yet, or news on the Build Back Better bill. That would help us reach our initial goal to complete 3DEP by 2023. And at current levels, we are projecting completion by 2026. We're facing the challenge of developing partnerships in rural western areas where there are large tracts of federal lands. And while this is a significant challenge, we remain hopeful. We believe that completing the baseline in the next few years is within reach, even as we embark on the next generation of 3DEP. I want to end by providing a huge thank you, and I really can't say this enough. All of you, the program just wouldn't be successful without all of you. Our partners who fund the data acquisition, the private mapping firms who collect the data and quality assure it, our users who keep crying for more data at higher quality levels for critical applications, the industry that continues to innovate the technology to provide continual improvement to our national program, and the other stakeholders who support and communicate the benefits of 3DEP to folks on Capitol Hill and the public at large. We have a bright future ahead with the 3D NTM and the next generation of 3DEP, and we're so excited to move forward with the entire community. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you again soon and in person, and let's keep our pedal to the metal. We are really moving the dial in terms of observations and critical data for the nation. Thank you.